Well, good morning on day 6. I'm not sure if there are any early birds amongst you, sorry, to join me this morning with a couple of moments before we start with day 6. Okay, I'm going to start because, as you know, I have a day in Belgium today, so I have to leave soon. Today I want to talk about the development or evolution, actually, of the human consciousness. And this is something that I first have been taught and spoken about, and then I've actually embodied this in my practice and embodied it eventually in my life. But it's perhaps for some of you a long stretch, and it will be really interesting how you react to this information, what it does with you. And the reason why I'm sharing it today, because it's quite important for you to actually decide and be very honest with yourself what it is you're here for in these 99 days. And any answer is okay. It's all yours, and it's all good for you. But the challenge is how far, or the question is how far you will challenge yourself. And are you really being able to open up to different levels of consciousness? And the reason why I'm introducing it like this is because the mind is so strong and so creative and so incredibly smart. It will give you lots of reasons not to go to a different perspective, like, oh, well, I don't need it in my life. It's okay for now. I have a happy life. I'm okay with what I have. And that's fine. If that's really what you think you are, and that's really how you feel life to be, that's fine. That's fine too. It's all fine, honestly. But if something within you gets curious when I'm about to share today, then there might be something here for you. And even feeling, even feeling resistance is a form of curiosity. Just look at resistance when you feel that. Because resistance is first often a fear of this new information. And there might be underneath that still a curiosity, like, I would like to have that, but I'm not able, I don't think I'm able to go that far. That's interesting in itself, to get that awareness. And then see what happens. So today is about the evolution of the human mind, actually, because as humans, everything happens because we have a mind. There wouldn't be any reality if we wouldn't have a mind. We might be able to breathe still because our heart is functioning, but there wouldn't be any reality. We have to create our daily reality, and it is almost impossible to grasp with the mind, but everything is created by the mind. Your mind, my mind, everybody's mind. And of course you can say, like, how does it happen that we see all the same thing? Like, my street looks probably more or less similar to what my neighbor thinks of how the street looks. And that's because we also tap into a conscious mind, a collective conscious mind, sorry. So a lot of things we assume and we take for granted as our reality, because we never really felt if this really is our reality. Because if we go into the now moment, and for anyone who wants to read about the now moment and get really deep dive into that, please read the book of Eckhart Tolle. Presence of Now. No, what's it called? Well, now I will post it. It's a very famous book. He describes perfectly how the now moment works and why there is no reality out of the now moment. But if you go into the now moment, really just in now, then there's nothing. There's just isness. There's nothingness. But because we create every nanosecond, we create our reality, we believe this constant stream of new realities created, we believe it's what we see as true. You can compare it to a movie. A movie consists of different slides of pictures, very fast behind each other. And that's how our life appears every moment, every single moment. So we're actually all movie makers. Isn't that great? We can and we do create our own movie. That means we can change our movie. We can literally jump timelines to go to another set of realities that fits more within us or what we want. Well, where are you creating from? And that's what it is. That's what the topic is about. Where are you creating from? And if we keep doing that from the mind, we keep also creating from separation. What I shared yesterday about. Because our mind can only, our person mind, that's the first state of consciousness that actually practically the whole world is in. From a person mind, we always create separation. Always. There will always be duality. So I come back to that, just to give you the overview. So we right now, most of us are in the person mind. And if you open up to your heart, and really open up to your heart, really get into that space and live from that space, you get into the empathic mind. And that's the place where all the emotions can be released. And not just yours, any emotion on earth can be released. Because I'm talking here about the human conscious mind. I mean, it applies to us personally as well, or to each individual, because we work according to the same rules, so to say. And then we go from the empathic mind, we can open up to the empowered mind. And that's where true creation comes from, because then it's coming from the heart and not from the mind. And then we go up into the stage of the unity mind. And that's where we create and live pure from oneness, being fully connected with each other. Still in the human body, but in unity with each other. Not in separation anymore. So to go from, and you don't go from one stage to the other, like, because I've practiced it a lot and I've embodied this in my life and in my system, I'm now only fully in the empowered mind. No, unfortunately not. You just go in and out of these different stages, depending on what's happening during the day. But becoming aware of these stages and learn to practice it and to recognize why, what the difference is being an empowered mind from a person mind state, of being the empowered mind from your heart is completely different result. It's completely different experience. Completely. Nothing to do with each other. So let me just go back to the person mind again. So the person mind is what we all actually most of the time experience, especially when your consciousness is quite low, you're unaware of thoughts, you're unaware of how life is happening, you just go through the motions, you think it's all meant like this, you think you cannot even do anything against it. It just is. And you try to make life as nice as possible. And sometimes you feel really, really well, or your life is already really great. I mean, everything was in favor for you. So you've managed to create a very comfortable life. But you can still be completely in the person mind. And most of us are. And the best way to practice this is if you feel separation from each and every one of us. So if you cannot feel a true connection, through the heart, like really feeling connected as one, then you're still acting from the person mind. And with a lot of love and care. And there's no judgment here. It's a perfect place to be, and you can be a very good human being, taking care of many people, or taking care of life itself, and being very loving to yourself and to the people you love around you. There's no judgment here. It's just a state that you're in. And if that state feels fine and you think you can live like that forever in this lifetime, then be there. Great. Then you probably don't have many fears. You probably don't have many moments where you feel the victim. You're probably not a lot in conflict with the world or with life or with your neighbor or with whomever. You just go easy with the flow, and life is great. And if that's the place where you want to stay in the person mind, and you become more aware of your thoughts, just bear in mind that you still solving it with the mind. So don't expect huge changes to happen, or at least, let me put it differently, from that state, you cannot make a true transformation. You just can't. And it's the same as being attached to the identity. You're still then in that state of being completely attached to the identity. With a lot of love and care still. But there's full attachment. But I guess the reason why you signed up for this program is because you want to explore life a bit more. Otherwise, you wouldn't have already spent 5 days watching me. And you wouldn't have felt that initial excitement or curiosity when I sent you the invitation. Or someone else sent it to you. So from the person mind, if we become aware of thoughts, so we become aware of this attachment to identity, and we become aware that we're not our thoughts, that there's something else, our being, which is who we are. So we're not this bundle of thoughts. We work with it, we live with it, and we can love it, but we're not it. We're not our mind with our thoughts. And we have practiced to drop into our heart more and more and more. And we already feel a little bit of this openness there. Just slightly. Just keep on practicing it. It will happen. Just make it very simple. I thought this morning, let's just make it completely simple. Just drop in the physical heart. Just go to that area and open that space. And just explore your heart. So if we're opening up from that space to life, and then we go automatically into the empathic stage of mind, because that's the stage where we can release emotions. And I explained that in earlier days, how that process happens. And that the releasing of emotion can only happen through the heart. And you can have assistance by healers who use that process with you. But they will be using that space to work from. And probably with an alignment to higher consciousness as well. If they're good healers. If they're not healers who are doing it from a profound practice from a person mind. That's the difficulty with the profession of healers. But that's another topic, I guess. So in this empathic mind, if let's just say that human consciousness on a whole, and it's actually said by many that's happening right now. That's why so many more people are interested in consciousness, spirituality, opening up to different perspectives. So we are, as humans, moving into this new stage of the empathic mind. And if we would drop therein immediately with the whole world, then it will be very dramatic in the world, because we only will be crying all day. Because if you truly open your heart to the world, and with all the pain that's there, then it's unbearable to take that all in. There's so much pain in the world. And even if you say, well, it's not mine, I can't be responsible for it, or I'm not responsible for it. No, you're not. But if you connect to, from that space, from your heart, if you connect to the world, then you just literally sense it. And that's a lot to handle for us. So we don't, as humans, we never have an evolution drop from one stage to the other in one day. It takes time. No idea how long. But it depends on how open we all are, how receptive we all are to new perspectives, and to opening up to this space of the heart. And if I put it back to your personal situation, if you're going opening up with your heart from the person mind to the empathic mind, there will be a lot of purging, releasing of emotions happening, because you will literally open up your system to all those blocked energies I talked to you about before. But you always also be more open to the pain of others around you, even to the ones you are in conflict with. And to me, that opening up to, from this level to life, to my life, was quite an intense period. It was quite a heavy period, because a lot of things just came in directly. I couldn't watch the news for many years. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't read newspapers with all the negativity there. It was just too much to take in all at once. And obviously my own pains from the past came up. And I looked differently at my life, like, wow, some things, they're just not good for me. I'm just not happy with it. I don't want to live another 40, 50 years like this. I'm going to change things. But I had to become really honest and open with myself to everything that came up in that phase, because I was opening my heart again and again and again. And it doesn't come up all at once. It comes up in waves, I could say. So there were months I felt really great, and then there was a wave that felt less great, to say the least. But it was okay to go through those stages. I've never thought like, oh, I don't want to go there. This is too much to handle. I have to get back to the person mind. I wasn't aware of those terms at the time, but I never had one single day that I thought I shouldn't go through with this, because even if pain is painful, I was always very aware that it had to happen, because I could also sense the releases afterwards, which were amazing, which really brought me to different experiences of myself. But we need this empathic mind state, because it's still happening in a way in the mind. We still, if you would have no mind, these emotions just would be energies changing frequencies. But we do have a mind, so these emotions do have a story attached to it and do have a perspective attached to it. So in that sense, it's still something happening within the mind. But from the empathic mind, you don't take it personally so much anymore. You see it happening, and you can see it's happening within you. And you can even see it's happening about your identity and about what you experienced. But and in the process itself, when it's really dark, it feels very personal. But the whole process itself, the whole transformation going through that phase, is less personal. And like I said before, it's not you're going from one stage to the other in very rigid blocks. You just go in and out. You kind of zigzag in and out from one stage to the other. And then, so when sometimes the empathic state mind was too intense, you drop back into person mind, and you almost hang on to this separation, this complete separation, because that was your old defense mechanism. You want to hold on to that because that felt safe, until you realize, well, that's not where the liberation is coming from. So I have to let go. I have to surrender into that pain again, and don't take it personal, but just be with it with an open heart. And this applies to any situation in your life, any situation. Not just pain of old experience where you did not feel good about yourself, or experience that made you not feel good about yourself. It happens to anything, also about conflict. Conflict is also a low frequency, very low frequency. And you often try to solve it with actually the same frequency. But nothing is solved with the same frequency. We cannot release something with the same frequency. That's why we cannot protest against war with a demonstration of peace, because we're actually using the same frequency. We're fighting against the fact that there's war, and as I'm already saying, we're fighting against it, even if we do it peacefully in a demonstration. But we're kind of using the same resistance at the same frequency against that what we're fighting against. And that doesn't change a thing. You can only change a thing coming from a higher frequency. Then it gets released. And that's why the heart is so important, because the heart has this high frequency. So you have the gift all within you. And changing bigger things in the world is literally happening, because if you change yourself, show different behavior, live in a higher frequency, a true higher frequency, not a mind one, but a true one. And if we all would do that, so we get out of our judgment state, because that's completely person mind, the lower frequency, then we would change the world from in that way, just being the higher frequency. And that's the same when you are in conflict with a person. You cannot solve it with arguing or meeting that person in the same frequency. And you cannot think yourself in a higher frequency. That's another big thing from the mind, who thinks themselves in a higher frequency. You cannot, just simply can't. You can only be a higher frequency. You can pretend for a very long time to be a high frequency with acting cheerful and thinking that life is great. But if you're not truly in that state when you get into conflict, can hold that frequency and really be in a higher frequency, then you're approaching with the same frequency and nothing changes. Because there's still judgment there. Especially in the conflict and victim frequencies, the lower ones, there's a lot of judgment. I know it better than you, or I'm kinder than you, or I want to solve this, you don't want to solve this, or I'm the victim here, you're the one who's responsible for this problem. It's the same frequency. And that's all this person mind frequency, where you completely act from separation. It's me against you. It's win and lose. So going back through the evolution of human consciousness, the next stage will be the empowered mind. And the empowered mind, coming from the heart, is where you get the frequency where you are truly creative, you're truly creating life. And this is the stage where it really has to come from the heart, and there's no planning, and there's no forcing, and there's no doing even in creating this. It's pure envisioning your intention and your excitement, and be completely aware where your excitement lies. And envisioning that process, focus throughout the day, the whole day, but from the heart, not from the mind. And then from that space, life happens in a different way. And from that space, you can really create changes in your life. And that doesn't mean that we all have to be hugely successful businessmen or women, but what are the changes you really want to see in your life? If you really want to see a fundamental change and experience a fundamental change, then doing this with the empowered mind, coming from the heart, living from the heart, creating from the heart, is where the actual change happens. And right now I'm in this stage where a lot of experiment almost with this empowered mind, because it's so tricky. There are days that I can be fully embody it, and I'm really in it, and then things just flow. Things just happen, and I think like, wow, I'm just putting my intention and my excitement out there in the world, and it's apparently received, and I get the confirmation back. But as soon as I doubt anything within me and I go back into this person mind, or even in the empathic mind, because there's also a lot of doubt there, then I drop out of this empowered mind and my process stops. There's no flow anymore. And it's really fascinating to see how, I don't know, it is whether because I'm most of the time in a higher frequency in my life and just things work differently, or whether it will be a collective thing, that it will actually, we really have to change our way of living, our operating system, so from the mind to the heart, because the mind operating system really doesn't work any longer on this planet. And it can work for a long time when we force things, and we know a lot of big leaders on this planet who force a lot of things, and they use a lot of fear to keep their followers in place, so they can stay in power. But it costs a lot of energy on this planet. It costs a lot of energy of everyone. And I'm really curious how long that old paradigm of forcing things and feeling completely separated from each other, and this inequality about rich and poor, how long that will stay on Earth. Because from my experience, I know it just doesn't work any longer. And these are just little things, little examples, but they're literally so true. So for instance, I had my new website online early March, and I was really excited about it, and it felt completely aligned within me. And I sent it out to a few, and in 2 weeks, I got 4 or 5 new clients. And then I dropped my attention to this website because this program of 99 days came up for me. And I put all my attention there. And guess what? The coaching business just dropped down. Nothing happens there. And you could say that the 99-day program and my coaching business is one and the same. Well, the vision is the same, raising consciousness, or the passion and the mission is the same. But there is absolutely different role for me. And I'm really wondering now where my excitement really is. Is this just being completely focused on this 99-day program because I really love doing this? Or do I want to do it both? And how do I set my intention on both in a pure and honest way? And I know then it will move again. But as soon as I force things or think like, well, it has to happen, that kind of force, like I want it to happen now and I need to have it, or there comes a lack belief in like, okay, I must earn some money with it now, then nothing happens. And it's the same as the little example of day one where I tried to force my old patterns and it didn't work. It's just a small example, but it's exactly the same pattern. I wasn't coming from my heart on day one. I was coming from my mind, trying to be something I thought my mind, my personal identity thought I should be. Okay, well, there's a lot of information today. You might not need to have to watch this one again. And I will come back to this one again. Because it's, when I received this message, I thought like, oh, wow, this is really making things clear for me. This was so different from any other spiritual book I read, which was always like missing this empowerment aspect. And there's one teacher who I followed for many years, who is focused on this empowerment, but he was never teaching it from the heart. So there was always something missing, like I'm trying to do, it almost felt like following his teaching, I'm doing a new trick, but it's still a trick. And going through this process of this human evolution of the mind, consciousness, it feels completely different. Experience it completely different. But again and again and again, I'm going to repeat it so many times. You have to come from your heart. So you have to open your heart. You have to practice with it. If anything today resonates for you, like I want to explore these stages, then you have to practice to open your heart and live from your heart. And sense your heart, because in this empowered state, if you're not aligned with your heart, you don't know where your true excitement comes from. And then it's still a thinking from the person mind. It's still an old way of creating things. It's not a new way of creating things. Okay. perhaps a different session today. Hope it all resonates a little bit or a lot for you. And well, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm off to Belgium now, and tomorrow I think we're at 12. So see you back tomorrow on Sunday. Have a nice day. Bye.